To make sure your environment's secure, you always need to run updates, but sometimes Windows presents interesting challenges. To find out more about Windows updates, stay tuned.
You're watching IT Pro TV.
Hey there, I'm glad you could make it back for more GSEC. We're going to be talking about Windows updates. Luckily, when I say we, I'm kind of just going to stand on the side and let Daniel tell us about Windows updates. And managing updates therein more of an enterprise environment, or maybe like a small, medium business environment, not, hey, my computer's rebooting, look, I have updates.
Yeah.
Those are annoying. You should still do those, but it gets a little different when we get into like a managed environment, right?
That's exactly right. So what we mean to talk about here is not just those single points or single endpoints. It's that large enterprise managed environments. I say large, really, it could be small, medium, or large businesses. If you have more than just a handful of devices, managing updates and patches can be an administrative nightmare. It can be just a not fun thing, make you want to like, you know what, is that truck driving school open? I think that's a good place. I should go there, right? Because it's just a lot of work. You have to go around, verify all the stuff that's been done. There's got to be a better way. Fortunately for us, Microsoft heard our cries of woe and developed a system that allows us to, when we're working in a Microsoft environment, if we're in a Microsoft shop or we have any kind of Microsoft-based products on our endpoints, then we can deal with those using their WSUS platform. This is the Windows Server Update Services. And it has made our lives a whole lot easier to manage those updates and to do them in a way that's more productive, more efficient, and as well as being more convenient for us as administrators and even for our end users. Because, Justin, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know I love getting a reboot for an update during the middle of a production day. That sounds fun.
Yeah, I schedule all of mine for right in the middle of the production day. Obviously, we're playing around.
Yeah.
My favorite, though, is when you don't know they're coming, and then it's like a weird countdown, and you're going, I
got 12 minutes to get this all saved and squared away.
Yeah, and unfortunately, if you're running like web servers or something that needs high availability, this could wreck your day if you don't have some way to manage or like stage those updates. Because you go, hey, website's down. I'll go ahead and get my stuff.
Yeah, true story. When I was a young sysadmin, just cutting my teeth, I was in charge of the WSUS service at the corporation that I worked for, and accidentally set the the production servers to reboot during the middle of the day. That did not go over very well.
I'm sure it did.
Yeah, these are mistakes that we make and learn from, hopefully. It was not a resume-generating event.
Well, I mean, it was. It wasn't a positive one.
It was. I had to go before the man and get dressed down. And, you know, why did this happen? I was like, oh, I made a mistake. I confused two different groups, and we're going to see how this all gets set up and what I've learned from my mistakes in the past so that you don't have to follow in my footsteps. You can learn from them as well. So there we go. We have WSUS. It is the service that's going to allow us to manage a corporate network's updates and patches. Okay. So with that, I think we should get into installing WSUS. So if you've never done this before, I've already installed it on this server. Actually, I spent a bit of time setting up this. You know, we've used my trusty 2012 R2 server just because it's my beater. But for this one, I thought, you know what, I'll throw a 2016 server, fresh, brand new, connected to the internet, get all the updates and do all that stuff. So I've already pre-gamed a lot of this, but for the most part, we'll be able to, if we're not able to see the exact thing I did, you'll probably get the idea. So it's not that difficult. So the first thing you need to do is, if you're not running a domain controller, you want to have a domain controller because this is a domain thing. Right? If I'm working in that domain environment, that's what I'll use WSUS. If I'm not exactly sure. You probably use something else, maybe Intune or something. I'm not a huge Microsoft person anymore. I've been running Linux for quite some time. So, but for here, when you're working in that domain environment, that WSUS is going to be your thing. So if you go to Tools, go to Manage and then Add Roles and Features. That's what you're going to want to do to make this a domain controller and then install the WSUS service. So it's asking you just some questions, some basic questions. where is my next button? There it is. It's way down below. I love when Microsoft does this. Let me zoom out. They always put it below the bar. Again, Microsoft, right? Anyway, hit next. And this is something you're just going to kind of next your way through for the most part. You'll have to answer some questions, but you'll go for a role-based or feature-based installation. Hit next. And then it's going to ask you select a server. I only have one, so if there was multiple, I'd pick from them. Hit next. And then here's where I would install those services. So I have Active Directory domain services. That would give me the Active Directory services I need so I can make this a domain control. I would do that first. And then after that, you can come down here and go to Windows Server Update Services. And you'll see I have 2 of 3 installed. And basically, I just nexted my way through the installation. But it has a few services, and you can look through them if you like on what's getting installed, WID connectivity and WSUS services. Basically, I want to do WS. I think you're going to also install IIS with that. It's kind of like a bundled package. It needs those things so that you can work with the graphical front end. But there you go. Not too hard. If you've ever installed a service on a server before, and hopefully at this point in your career you have worked with these technologies, so it shouldn't be anything outside of the realm of your experience or capabilities. So I'm going to cancel this. That's what you would do. You'd walk through those wizards, get those things installed, go through any of the post-installation activities. Remind you they come up here in the little flag. You'll see them up here. I've already cleared mine out, so I'm all good to go. WSUS is installed. Once that happens, I've got the Active Directory installed. I'm a domain controller. I'm ready to rock. And I've got WSUS services installed and ready to rock. Now I can start the setup, right? I can set up and configure that wonderful little WSUS service. So how do we do that? I know, right? It's always wicked hard.
I'm thinking about just leave it and be like, just listen to Daniel, because I'm like,
well, you've never done WSUS before, right?
Yeah. No, I've definitely been in the Linux world for the most part, but I know by and large, places I've worked at have been Windows shops.
Yeah, you hit in an enterprise environment, a lot of times your endpoints are always going to be Microsoft because it's good control that you have here. Active Directory services are great. They allow you to do a lot of great stuff. But now that we need to do the WSUS, let's hit those tools. If I needed to get to the Active Directory, we will need Active Directory users and computers. That is hard to say. But for right now, let's get into Windows Update Services. All the way down here at the bottom, you can see it in that list right there. Click on that, zoom out, and that will bring up our window. Now, there's a couple of things that we need to do inside of here. Now, since, again, I've already pre-gamed this a bit, the first thing that should happen if this is your first time running WSUS is it should start the WSUS wizard. Throw another W in there for fun, right? If you start it and stop it accidentally, or you just need to run through it again for whatever reason, you can just go to Options over here in the left-hand menu. And in here, you get all these options. You can update source and proxy server, all these wonderful things. But what I want to do is all the way down here at the bottom is the server configuration wizard. Click on that. Now we can run through this really quickly so you can see what this looks like. But I've already done this, and I just won't complete the stages. All right. So before you begin, you got a couple of things. Is the server firewall configured to allow access? Can computers connect to this upstream server? You got to understand the idea of upstream and downstream. Basically, if you have subordinate WSUS servers, they will be downstream, and there will be upstream servers that are giving them their updates. So that's what they're talking about there. And do you have any user credentials if there's a proxy involved? So be prepared for that. We move forward. I typically uncheck this. Yes, I would like to join the Microsoft Update Improvement Program because, well, I'm paranoid.
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah, I will. Synchronize from a Microsoft Update or synchronize from another Windows Update Services server. So again, kind of going back to where am I getting my updates from? Am I getting from an upstream server, or am I getting it straight from Microsoft? Since this is the only update server I have in my collection here, I'm going to go with synchronize from Microsoft and then hit next. If I have a proxy, I'll need to configure that here. Then I'll click next. And then you'll need to click this Start Connecting. Now, originally this took me a couple of minutes for this to complete, but I guess because I've already done it, it moves pretty quickly. So if you are kind of stuck, you hit that start connecting and it kind of sits there for a second, just give it time. It will complete. It should just take a few minutes and you should be good to go. I'll hit next. Choose your languages. So if you have multi-language support or you need multi-language support, you can choose those languages here. Some people make the full mistake of downloading updates in all languages. I wouldn't do that unless you absolutely needed that.
You would have a pretty strong, like, that's a very like edge case scenario because those language packs can be fairly hefty.
Exactly. So you'd have to have the space and the bandwidth and all that to get all that stuff. You'll notice I have download updates only in these languages, and since, again, this is my only thing and I speak English, I chose English. But you might see, you know, depending on your environment, that you need a couple other languages. If you don't need the language, then there's no reason to download it, right? Hit next. And then this is another important one during the setup here, which is what products do you want to control updates for? And it's quite a list. So you're going to want to go through it. You'll see, I like how it's all products, Microsoft. You don't say. You're gonna update Microsoft products? I never would have guessed that, but there it is. And you see stuff for Active Directory, ASP.NET. We got BizTalk, developer tools. What else do we have? Exchange, another great Microsoft product. Forefront, HPC. But what I've done is I've basically, since I'm looking for updates for just this server, right? I just want to get server updates, or maybe I want to do server and workstation updates, and maybe server and workstation, and maybe we run Office as local installs and not like Office 365. So I would look through here and find those. There's Azure, Windows Live, small business server. So here we go, starting to get into the Windows operating systems. There's Windows 10. I could choose those and the ones that I need, selecting very granular when it comes to the versioning. Even back to Windows 2000, Windows 7, Windows 8. What do I have there? I had something checked. Yeah, Windows 8.1 and later. I just must have missed that one. But what I really wanted, because I'm running 2016 server, was that one right there. Windows Server 2016 and later services, drivers, and the server itself. Since that's what I'm going for, I should be good to go. I can click next. And then we have this lovely option here. What classification of updates do you wish to synchronize with? So what are you looking to get to have on your WSUS server? I normally click all classifications, then unclick drivers, just because most things are good to go with their built-in, or the driver that comes with the software. I don't need Microsoft to try to handle that for me. I'll probably do it that way. So it can become a driver nightmare. So I leave drivers off. But I definitely want things like security updates. And I think that is checked off by default. And critical updates, right? Feature packs, I can take them or leave them. Tools are nice as well, but not necessary. Updates, upgrades, service packs can be one you probably want to get, right? So all the good stuff. And then, of course, we hit next. This right here is asking about synchronization. Do you wish to just do it automatically at a certain time of day so you don't have to manually do it? Or if you feel so inclined, you can manually synchronize your server. Click next and everything should be good. And I would click finish if I was going to do that. I'm not, but you should if you're setting it up. And then you should be good to go. You'll wait the appropriate amount of time for it to complete. And now your WSUS server is set up. Now, a couple other things we need to do really quickly is we need to create some groups. So if you go over here to your left-hand control area, the menu, right? Under your server, under computers, you'll get all computers. Now you'll see I've got these computer groups, WinServer 2016 Prod and WinServer 2016 Test. I just made a production and a test group, right? And you just have to right-click, click on all computers, right-click, and add computer group. Give it a name, and it shows up there. Okay, I'm doing that because I'm going to apply some group policy to these so that certain mechanisms happen. With test, I like to just push things out immediately when we get it. You know, so Patch Tuesday happens, it downloads and updates immediately, or it waits till the appropriate time. So maybe I've set it for that day at 3 o'clock. So maybe Tuesday at 3 a.m. it's going to automatically just start patching. And if any reboots are necessary, it will reboot as well, right? So we're going to set that stuff up in group policy. But for here, you have to set those groups so that you know which one is which. Test, hammer down, right? It's supposed to get everything in the kitchen sink to see if anything breaks. Then if it doesn't break, a good patching methodology is to like give it a couple of days, maybe a week, and see how test does with the updates. Make sure nothing goes haywire. And if everything checks out, then you push everything out to production so that you don't have a large scale downtime.
I don't always test my updates, but when I do, it's in production.
Yeah. Best time,
Don't do that because it wasn't a Windows system, but I did that on a Linux box. Somebody's like, "Oh, we haven't run updates in a while." I was like, we need to." Yeah.
Nothing works now.
So it was still a test server, but it was actively being used for like testing out some new projects.
I love that.
And then I was like, "Hey, so that's broke." So definitely, definitely use both of those environments.
I mean, I bet you were sweating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was like, "Hey, so y'all gonna laugh? That doesn't work anymore."
I'll just get my stuff.
Yeah. So definitely use those. Take pains to test those out as thoroughly as possible.
I like where his head's at on that. So yes, make sure you know what the heck you're doing before you hit the apply button, right? All right, so we've created those, and then we need to create some groups in Active Directory. This is where we're going to actually really start getting into. SUS is set up. We're done with that. Now we got to start to like configure the environment to start to work alongside of it. So we're going to create some groups in Active Directory. We're going to create some group policy, and then we're going to edit the policy so it does the things we want to do. And after that, I think we should be basically squared away at that point, right? So let's do that. I'm going to just minimize this. I'll minimize that. What we need to do now is I need Active Directory. So go to Tools, go to Active Directory Users and Computers. And in there, you'll notice I've just created some computer accounts. These don't actually exist. So I've got CEO01, Dev 001 and 2, Finance, Front Desk, HR, a couple of IT boxes. I just set them in there under the Computers OU. I created this WSUS Groups area to help me keep things organized. Obviously, organizational unit, that's what that's for. And I just right-clicked and new group, right? And you can create any group you like. So if I wanted to create WSUS, hammer down, I could. And that could be like my I hate you group, and everybody just immediately reboots whenever stuff comes in. But it's a security group. It's pretty straightforward. Hit OK, and you see now it's there. So I created the production group and the test group here in Active Directory. So I needed those groups so that I can then go into them, and you'll see, look at those members, start dropping members into it. Now that I have the members in the proper groups, the groups that I've created to work with, I can now apply group policy to that so that once they start checking into WSUS, everything starts working, whatever policy applies to those groups should apply to those computers inside of those groups. That's the idea. So let's get out of here. I'll cancel all this. At this point, I need the group policy. So I'll go here and, it's in the server manager. Everything's in server manager now. Tools, and it should be, there it is, group policy management, right there. Group policy management comes up, and you'll see I've got a couple of things that I've created. You'll see that this did show up there, WSUS groups, and I had to create two policies, production and test. Yes, I see you. You have selected a link to a group policy object. Well, if I want to do anything, I gotta press OK, so I'll press OK. So in here, I've got the production and the test groups, and I just linked them here. I didn't link them at the domain, I linked them there because this is only gonna apply to these two this specific area, which is that WSUS groups OU. So once I've created that, I can go in there and edit. I can look at the settings. And we can see, oh goodness, I love Microsoft. This is your own stuff. Add it. Okay, close. There you go. It's not showing me the settings. Maybe I didn't actually save them. But you can go in here and actually configure these things. I think you can. Let's go here. Yes, edits. And that'll bring up the group policy editor. And from there, let me blow this up. They love to do in a windowed box and not full screen.
Who would have thought? Windows and Windows.
I bet I could set a group policy object to change that behavior.
I tell you what,
group policies.
the more I learn about the window, I'm just like, I'm good. I'm good.
It's a lot of work.
It is.
All right, let's get into here. So underneath, if I need to edit these policies, it's all right that maybe I just forgot to save them. But underneath policies, go to administrative templates, and then I think it's Windows, right? Is it Windows? Yeah. Computer configuration policies, Windows components, and then underneath that, all the way down, all the way. Man, this is such a long laundry list.
Right down there at the bottom.
I know. Everything's labeled Windows at the end. You see it right around there. Windows Update. There it is. Click on that. And from there, you can see here are all the policies that I can edit for this policy, right? So I like to order it by alphabetically. I don't know why they're so jumbled around. But some of the things I like to set are like always, where is it at? Always automatically restart at the scheduled time. So this is, as I put this in on the test machines, they are going to restart. The users shouldn't have a capability to stop that. And you can configure the policy in here, enable that, right? I want to wait 15 minutes or however long I think is great. It gives you a really good rundown over here in the help section for each one of these. So if you're not exactly sure what they're supposed to do, you can just look at that help section for each one and you go, oh yeah, that's totally something I want to do. Enable it and then hit apply and okay. And there you go. And of course, you can run through these, pick your poisons as necessary for each one of, like, if you had a test group, here's how I want the test groups to function as they get updates. If I had a production group, here's how I want them to function, so on and so forth. Maybe I've got a no reboot servers area because rebooting them is bad and they'll break. I want them to download, but I don't want to do anything until I manually handle certain things. So you can get really granular and fine control with the policies themselves as well as the groups that you're applying them to. But once that's all done, you should be able to, okay, so I set that, it's all good, I got it all saved or whatever. I can go back into WSUS and eventually machines will start propagating in here. And I will be able to go into the options and start looking at my synchronized schedule. You can specify how to assign computers to groups, do server cleanup, super important because you'll have a bunch of old updates that you don't need anymore. You can run server cleanup, free up some space if you start running out of disk space. Reporting, email notifications, probably a good one for you to enable and configure. And there you go. Lots of great stuff going on here. Hopefully this helps you out when it comes to understanding the basics of WSUS and how to get updates out into an environment. And yeah, I felt like I've talked a lot and we've been down a rabbit hole.
There was a lot to get through right there.
There was.
And so I was like, all right, I'm just going to let Daniel do his thing just because this is a quick primer. This isn't like
Yes.
the end all be all.
No.
This is just to give you here are some capabilities that you should consider, especially when it comes to, I've seen so many systems like, oh yeah, we forgot to update that. And there was a known vulnerability or a known exploit. And boom, there you go.
If you do want more like in-depth, step-by-step, every little nook and cranny about this stuff, I would watch our Microsoft shows, our Microsoft courses. Mike, Cherokee, Adam, all those good folks that did those shows are phenomenal at it and are really good at explaining each and every option for you. So maybe if you want to jump in and study for like an MCSE or an MCSA, then that would be the way to go. Really get the knowledge on for how these systems work.
Well, Daniel, thank you so much, and thank you for sticking around. There was a lot there, so definitely try that out. It's fun times. I watch Daniel offline. You're going to have fun times as well. Sure. So speaking of fun times, we got more GSEC coming your way, but for now, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. So signing off for IT Pro TV, I've been your host, Justin Dennison.
I'm Daniel Lowry.
And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching IT Pro TV.